What's up, everybody, and welcome back to another video. We are still on quarantine, so this is lesson number 2 for my quarantine sessions. We are going to go over putting. I am going to go over what all of these do, why are there so many different types of putters, so that you can try to figure out what type of putter works best for you. Also, I'm going to show you how 2 basic household items can help you with your putting. So last time we used just the alignment stick. This time we're gonna use, that's right, 25-cent piece, good old Georgie, and a yardstick and some tape. So these 2 are gonna help out your putting. We're gonna get inside, go over a few drills, stuff that you could practice around the house to help you on the putting green. It's gonna cover some alignment, some ways to check your stroke, make sure it's doing what you want it to do. Your setup, some speed drills, all kinds of stuff just off of this guy and this guy, and maybe a little bit of grout in your kitchen. All right, we'll see you inside. Let's do this. All right, and we are back. I'm gonna go over some putter types and show you what the difference is so that you can kind of see what your stroke is. I'll give you some ways to check it. And then you can see if your putter matches up with that stroke style. So there's a few different strokes. Some are going from a severe curve to pretty straight back, straight through. If you are putting with one of those mallet putters, so like the TaylorMade Spider, or Callaway's new Stroke Labs that look like the old TaylorMade Spiders, those are made for a little more straight back, straight through. So I'll give you an example. Mine's not complete straight back, straight through, but I putt with the Odyssey Red Ball. It is a heel shafted putter. So notice that it's not dead on the heel, but that shaft is a little towards the heel. So it's gonna allow for some swing, but notice that the weighting in the back is pretty evened out. There's a ton of weighting out on the edges, a lot of the weight's out on this toe end, so it is gonna allow for some bit of curve there, because I do have a slight arc in my stroke, so I just can't use stuff that's straight back, straight through. I've always putted with a heel shafted putter. If you're putting with the shaft or with a putter that is shafted dead center, so the shaft is coming out straight from the center, right where you hit the ball, that putter is gonna be more for a straight back, straight through stroke. And I'll show you here in a second, but the straight back, straight through putters have to be played with players that have a straight back, straight through stroke. Otherwise, it's not gonna match up. You're gonna be, the weighting of the putter is not gonna feel right. You're gonna have trouble with some of your distances and stuff, because it's just, you're having to force the weight around. Next type of putter is gonna be for a slight arc. So if you're putting with something like this, this is gonna allow for a little bit more of a swing to it. Notice there's a lot more length out on the toe end. This is shafted towards the heel. And if you look at the back end though, these little parts, it's not just so that they can put Ping Pal 4 on there, although this is an older putter, but pretty classic style here. It does have a bent neck, so when you have this little elbow in the neck there, it's placing the ball back a little bit, kind of like a little bit of an offset, like you would see in your irons. But these 2 weights here are made to balance this out. So catching the ball anywhere in this section here, it's going to be pretty evened out. These weights on the end are going to help keep that putter face a little more square, even on an off-center hit. So unless you're catching it way out here, right? If I let this thing hang, you can see if I hit it out here, it twists. If I hit it back on the heel, it twists. But anywhere in this centered part, in between these weights, it kind of deadens that twist in the face. This is going to be huge. Pretty beneficial for putting, because any little twist, obviously we know we're gonna miss edges of the cup and not make our birdies, which sucks. But for most of this, this type of putter, definitely gonna have a little bit more of a swing to it. You're gonna see that as you putt, this toe weight is gonna kind of do this. It's not that major, but it's gonna be a little more than your larger set putters. The next style putter is straight heel shafted. So you can see this hosel is going directly into the heel. All the weight is gonna be out on the outside. So this is really allowing for a ton of swing. So when you're hitting this putt, notice that weight hangs straight down. I mean, this thing is, they do this test all the time. So the weight of the putter, the head, is hanging, directly down. So there's a slight, if I can get this thing to balance here, there is a slight help to it. So it's not completely straight down like this. So there is some weighting that's gonna help keep that putter somewhat square. But as you're putting, this face is gonna wanna rock a ton. So for guys who putt with a massive arc, so as they're putting, this face is really opening and closing. These type of putters, heel shafted, a lot of weight on that toe end, these putters are gonna feel a lot better. They're gonna feel a little more natural when you're putting on the green. It's just matching with the style of stroke that you already have. So if you're struggling finding a putter, hopefully these tips will help. They'll try to get you in the right style putter. I know a lot of us like to look at certain things. Like obviously this was one of my putters before. I really like this look. I really like the feel of that swinging face. I just never really putted well with it. I'd have really good days and then I'd have really off days, and there's days where I just seemed like I could not get my ball to start on line. My distances were a little bit off. I love the feel of it. Just wasn't that accurate. So there's just times when, like I said, my putting was off. And once I switched to the red ball, I still had that same feel of having that toe weight out. So obviously you can see here, if I balance this again, this putter is it's not as far down, not even close. So the face is, and it's not completely straight. So there's a little bit of hang there. I think they call it micro hinging. So it allows for some arc. It gives you the feel of like that heel shafted putter where there's a lot of toe weight to it, but the face stays pretty centered. So the weighting on it's a lot more consistent. You can catch the ball anywhere on the face and it's gonna stay pretty solid just due to the weighting in the back. An added feature that I did like with this one is that when we're putting, we tend to set up a little bit different each time. So alignment is a big issue, as it is with any aspect of our game. But the red ball has this cool little deal. So obviously, if I can get it in the right side, so you can see that little red ball inside there helps us line up. So it has this cool like scope on the top here. And when you're lining up, we can get that ball to match right in the center there. So if you can see that, if you're setting up, so say we have a birdie and your tendency is to start forward pressing, you're gonna see that ball come out of the scope, and you're gonna know to bring your hands back, get that ball up in the scope, and then putt. It also has like this cool like white strip here, and then obviously like the little dash line that most putters have to help you with alignment, help you see your line a little better. Super cool putter. I made ridiculous putts that I really have no business making. So it's helped a lot, especially on the shorter stuff. I'm a little more consistent there, but long range definitely has helped. I've dropped some bombs with this one, where the other ones, my feel was really good, and I can get the ball close. It just never was on. It was never right where I needed to be. It wasn't the make, it was always like leaving it within inches, whereas with the red ball, I think my consistency's gone up a little bit, and it's just due to the weighting, and that has helped a ton. So in putting, your measurements are going to be really tight. So hitting a putt just off the edge and hitting a putt square into the cup, I mean, we're talking little tiny bits of change in this face. I mean, so if you're putting and you're putting with something that doesn't match your stroke and we're hitting it a little bit off all the time, that face is gonna twist and it's always gonna keep you a little bit off. If you have something that's a little more balanced and fits your stroke better, that weighting is gonna help you out and it's gonna keep your putts way more consistent. So you can think of it in terms of like your irons. If you have really heavily cavity-backed irons, if you miss off a little bit, it's gonna help you out. The ball's gonna stay straighter, helps you hit the shot that you need. If you are hitting a blade, which would be like putting with this old gem right here, absolutely no weighting, everything's uniform on the back. There's a tiny bit of thickening on the bottom just to give you some kind of weight for the putter, but dead in the heel, the entire putter is out away from the shaft, which is gonna make this thing swing a ton. So we are talking major hinge here, or major arc. It's just gonna be a lot harder to hit the putt that you need. So now that we went over putting styles, let's get on the carpet and I'm gonna show you some things. Next up, we're gonna show you how this yardstick is gonna help you with your speed and help you figure out which type of swing arc you have. All right, let's get to it. All right, so on my ruler, I'm just gonna kind of go over this real quick. Pretty easy, not even a ruler, it's a yardstick. Right there, you can see Home Depot. Awesome, little Home Depot action. But what I did is I taped every 4 inches. All this is just gonna help me kind of get an idea of where I'm going. So putting some markings down, I can then check how far my backswing goes, and then I can take putts from there. And all I'm trying to do here is take the putter back a set amount, so set length, and then I'm gonna take my stroke and I'm gonna try to make sure that that stroke's kind of even on both sides. So every 4th inch, I put this line there. So every 4 inches front of the line, that way I can check my face and see where I'm going back. So let's go. What you can do here is all we're setting up to do is we're practicing our length of stroke. So taking it back to that 8-inch mark and being able to push through. I'll grab the tape there. So taking it back, pushing through, and you could take putts. You don't even have to be on the ruler. You can set up like this, take it to that mark, and then kind of take your stroke through. And what I want is wherever I'm taking it back to, I want my stroke to be the same amount of push through. So if I'm taking a short one, it's that same push as I'm taking a medium one, push, right? Taking a longer one, push, and then obviously I'm taking my longest stroke or longer stroke for this practice, and then that same amount of push. So we don't want it to be like short and really soft, and then medium and like a little bit harder, and then back and like really hard. And that's kind of what happens. Most people are changing how hard they're pushing that stroke through. This changes your distance, makes it difficult for distance control. So let's make sure that we're taking it back to a set spot and we're practicing on pushing through at least to that same mark. So notice that if I'm taking it back to here, my mark is going to be this blue line, so I'm taking it back blue line to blue line. Boom. Making sure that I get that putter through. This is an awesome practice just to work on controlling your backswing and taking different length strokes. What I see most of the time, a lot of amateurs, or I don't want to say amateurs, but just a lot of people in general, get comfortable with the set takeaway. So we get comfortable here, and this is my 1-foot putt, this is my 5-foot putt, and this is my long putt, all right? And this is my like crazy long putt. But they get stuck at a set mark, and they only can go take it back so far. If the putt gets further and I got a 20-foot putt, they're still taking it back to this mark and they're just trying to hit it harder. What we want is we want to be able to just change the length of our backswing, and we're going to take that stroke so that it matches the length that we have to go. We don't want this to be the same takeaway as our 2-3 footer, right? And our 10 footer and our 20 footer, right? And all the way across the green. And this forward motion is getting faster, but our length of backswing is the same. It's going to be hard to judge your distances that way, and it tends to force us to add some hand motion in there where we need to build power really quick. So this is a really good practice. All we're doing is using that yardage stick, and we're adjusting the length of our backswing, and we're getting comfortable taking a shorter backswing, a longer backswing, and then an even further backswing. And we can segment those to a short putt, a medium putt, and a long putt. You don't have to be on the green, so you can take these putts inside on your carpet and just see where those balls are ending up. If we can take a short one and have the same acceleration as we do in our longer putt, it's gonna help us be a little more consistent. You're gonna start to see, even on your carpet, that if you take it back that 8 inches and you have a consistent acceleration, the ball's gonna roll out pretty consistent, right? If you want it to go further, we're not taking it back to the 8-inch mark again and then pushing harder. We're gonna take it back further. So go into that 12-inch mark or trying to change it in between there. But take it back to a longer length, same acceleration, and let's just see how much that sends the ball further. And let's see if we can get that speed consistent. A lot of the times you're gonna find that where your comfort zone is, if you just set up and you take your normal, what feels like your normal little 5-foot putt, that's typically everyone's comfort zone. We get comfortable right in this little short distance backswing, and then we kind of work everything from there. So whether it's a far putt or short putt, we're always working from that same spot. Get out of that comfort zone, take your swings a little bit differently, short ones, medium ones, and longer ones, and then make sure that we're accelerating through and that putter is going through at least equal distance on the other side of the ball or wherever you're starting your putt from. All right, so that's the first one. We're working on our distances. We can work on getting that stroke to change a little bit, but we're working on getting the same kind of acceleration from whichever distance we go, short, medium, or long. That's the first way you can practice with this stick. The second way you can practice with this stick is working on our hands. So you're not even going to use your putter on this one. You're just gonna be holding the yardstick. All right, so for this next drill, you're gonna take your yardstick and we're taking our grip, so we're holding it long lengthwise, where that wide portion is in like kind of the palm of our hand here. And you take your, as close to your normal putting grip as you can, and you're gonna leave some stick of some part of the yardstick sticking out in the back of your hand. So it's not really, it's not touching you, so it's not poking into your stomach, but there is some length. It doesn't even have to be that much, just so that we can kind of see this thing move. So just like in the short game practice where we used that stick on our side to make sure that our hands aren't moving, we're gonna do something similar here. And you're gonna use this yardstick, you're gonna take your grip here, and you're gonna make your stroke. And as you make your stroke, this stick should stay pointing pretty much in the center. So as we move through our stroke, we shouldn't see that stick get closer or farther away. Like, it shouldn't wobble in between our hands. It should stay right in there. It's kind of hard with the camera view here, just because it's gonna change a little bit, but you can see that stick's not moving. As I come through impact, that stick is in the same spot, right? And we're moving through this. So I can go like this, and that stick is gonna stay relatively square. Definitely no wobble there. And we don't want this thing to have, we don't want to be pushing through our putts and having this thing change, because what that does is it changes the way our putter hits. So if I have some tilt this way, my face is now gonna match that tilt. So if I'm going like, if I hit it like this, now I'm really de-lofting my putter face. If I'm pushing it back, it's opening up that putter face. So this is going to cause inconsistency in our speed. It's going to cause the ball to bounce a little bit or not roll out the same way. So to get that roll consistent, to get our speed consistent, we definitely want to take some strokes where our hands are not moving around. So, and again, awesome way to use just any old yardstick. You can pick these up super cheap at like Home Depot or something. Obviously that's where I got mine. Even if you have like just a ruler, you can put it down on the ground. You won't be able to really practice like the length of putt so much. But you could also put like markings on the ground if you just measured it out, put some tees or something down and practice taking a different length putt. If you have the ruler or the yardstick, take your grip. Obviously, again, it's going to be holding like it widthwise in our palm, and you're gonna take your grip on it, and you're gonna make your stroke without this stick wobbling around. We don't want this, because if this is moving, that means our wrists are doing some work there. Any wrist motion is gonna add power. It's gonna change how we hit this thing on the green. So make sure that we're using or getting our wrists out of that, and we're using this stick properly and taking strokes without that moving. You're gonna feel yourself use different muscles in your body when we're using our shoulders, and some of our, you're probably gonna feel it right here in your posture and your lower back, because we're really stabilizing ourselves to make sure that as we take this stroke, we're not using our hands to flip through. Pretty easy. Okay, so let's get down a little lower here. This next one is gonna be how to see what stroke you have. So if you are trying to figure out what type of stroke you have, how much arc you have, you can take a look by using this ruler. You could also use your alignment rod. Okay, so notice here that this strip starts right on that stick. I'm gonna line up nice and square, so making sure that my feet are square to my line here. And as I take my stroke, I'm gonna take my normal stroke, and notice that my putters come in. So it's no longer lined up with the stick, but as I come back to impact, it squares up. And then on this follow through portion, right? So back a little bit. So comes in a little bit, squares up, and then it's gonna come back in. So my putting stroke has a slight arc to it. This feels like, if I close my eyes and I just take it, this feels like I'm going straight back, but obviously you can see that white portion is a little inside that stick. It'll square back up to the stick, and it'll stay down the line for a little while here right in front of me as I'm making contact, and then it's gonna kind of come back in, right? And so you can see that my face has a little bit of rotation there, and this is my putting stroke. This is just how I naturally do it. So it feels awkward for me to keep that right on the stick. My hands have to make some compensations to get it to stay there. My posture has to change a little bit. So for me to get in a comfortable posture where my eyes are lined up just inside the ball there, when I'm taking this back, and what feels straight back to me is actually comes back a little inside.
So here's a couple views of my stroke in slow motion. I use a couple different putters here. This is the putter that I'm using right now, currently playing with. But you can see my stroke does come a little to the inside. So everyone's stroke has some type of curvature to it. Even the straight back, straight through players have some slight arc to it, probably a little less than what I have here. It's totally natural to have a little bit of arc. So I know a lot of players take their practice swings or their putting stroke, and they always come to me and say, hey, there's like a little bit of a wobble there, or it's like it's not staying on line. I have a hard time keeping it straight on my line. And don't worry about that too much, because that putter is made to come off the line a little bit. Most players I would say, have a slight arc. It's very rare that your putting stroke is going to be straight back, straight through. So even players that are putting what they would say straight back, straight through, if you put them on camera, that line does come to the inside a little bit, and then it'll square up and it'll come back to the inside on the follow through. Not a huge deal. It's not something that you're gonna fix necessarily. It's like trying to say that you're gonna take your full swing and it's gonna be straight on your line the entire time. That's impossible. You'd have to basically like hit through your legs to do that. So it's kind of ridiculous to try to fix that. But that's where you'll see that wobble. People trying to fight their stroke to keep it straight on line. It's wanting to pull to the inside, and they're fighting to keep it on that line. So find a putter stroke or a putter that matches your stroke. If you need to see what your stroke is, you can use your yardstick or you can use this alignment stick.
This is pretty big. Not a lot of people know exactly what type of arc they have just because they've never really taken the time to check it out. So since we're on quarantine and we have nothing else better to do besides wrangle kids and make food and clean the house, get a chance to get your putter out. Just kind of take note. Let's get a little bit of knowledge on our swing. This is gonna help a ton. This next drill is gonna be with our magic quarter. So a lot of the time when people are putting, they may be varying their backswing. They may be having really consistent stroke like acceleration. So they should be getting pretty good distancing. So if it looks like, God, my stroke looks really good, I'm not pushing, I'm not moving my wrists, everything seems to be pretty good, but I'm still not getting consistent distance. There's another thing that can cause this. So just like in our full swing, where we can catch it heavy or we can catch it thin, so like chunking the ground or catching the ball like blading it, we can do that with our putting as well. So what happens is, say I'm putting this ball, right? And I have my putter, and as I'm coming into the ball, I'm catching it a little high on the ball, right? And we may be catching it like it's still hitting the center of the putt or face, but we may be catching it something like this. It's catching down on the bottom of the, even if it's catching center, it can still be catching on the bottom of the club. We want this putter to be down underneath the center of gravity of the ball. So if you look at dead center, right, there's gonna be a pretty good gap there where we can get this thing down even with the bottom of the ball, and then that's where we should be catching it, but it doesn't leave much room. So just like in our full swing stuff, we got to be catching underneath the ball to get this ball to properly go. Same thing in putting. If we catch below the center of gravity of the ball, that ball's going to top spin, it's going to roll a little better for you. It's not going to skip. But what happens is, if we're catching it up on top, what happens is that ball pushes down and it bounces and then it starts to roll. And this can lead to inconsistent distance, right? That bounce is kind of taking out some of our speed, doesn't get just a clean roll on top of the grass. If we're catching it too low, right, and we're scuffing the ground, that can lead obviously to some short putts where we've all done it before, where we catch the grass a little bit, we essentially chunk our putt, which is dumb, but it happens. So we are going to use this quarter to practice getting as low to the ground as we can without actually hitting the ground. And some of you are like, what the heck? All right, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna turn it this way and we're gonna lay this on the ground and we're gonna putt and we're gonna see if we can get this quarter to slide or catch the top of the quarter without hitting the ground. This is gonna practice your depth of your stroke. So if this is ground level, right, we're practicing on how low we can get this putter to swing without actually hitting the ground or scuffing into the ground. This is gonna be good practice for you, just to practice getting as low to the ground as you can on just what feels like your normal stroke without actually hitting the ground. We're gonna start catching lower in the ball, and this is gonna produce a more consistent roll. So let's get down to the ground, and I'll show you some of the strokes here. It's pretty easy practice, literally just putting a quarter on the ground and practice stroking. All right, here we go. All right, and here we are on the ground. We're gonna place our quarter down on the mat. Let's see if I can move this so you guys can see it. Super easy. All we're doing is we're setting up to that quarter like it would be the ball, and we're taking strokes, and we're seeing obviously right there, like I'm pretty close to the ground, but I'm still missing. So I'm hitting
like this high on the up above the mat, which doesn't seem like a big difference, but that's gonna change if we have the ball there. So if I have my ball same spot and I'm trying to hit even with the ground here, this high up doesn't seem like a whole lot, but it is gonna cause me to catch it a little thin. You can see where that top or the bottom end of the putter is. It's a little high on the ball, it might be just under it. It'll still give it a decent roll, but it is catching the ball a little bit thin. So what you're gonna do is you're gonna sit over your quarter and you're gonna take strokes until we can find where the bottom of our stroke is at and it catches the quarter without us hitting the mat. So you can hear if I hit the mat, you're gonna hear that grab. If I set down my quarter and I take my stroke, just the quarter.
That's what we're trying to do. So this quarter trick is gonna be pretty solid for practicing the depth of your strokes.
All right, so here we go. One more way that we can practice our putting indoors. You're gonna use these grout lines to help figure out your setup. So ball's gonna go at one of the cross sections of the grout. If you put your putter down square to that, what you're gonna do is you're gonna practice stepping in to your setup and making sure that everything gets lined up so that you can take your stroke. Keep practicing this. So you can set up with your feet square together so that that grout line goes right in between, and then take equal steps apart. We just want to make sure that that grout line is pretty centered. This is going to be pretty close to the bottom area of your putt, so kind of where we're catching that quarter at. We want that ball to be at the lowest point of our stroke. So just stepping in, give this practice maybe 15 to 20 times, and then you can make sure that, so you can see my feet are nice and square. If your setup is off to begin with, you're gonna notice that when you set up, your feet might be like a little bit off. What feels comfortable might be, you know, a little cockeyed here. So what you want is make sure that you're stepping up and we're taking our setup and our feet are getting set into the same spot each time. Pretty good practice there. Not a lot of people take the time to really groove in their setup. So each time, like I mentioned before, if we start getting birdie putts, we start like forward pressing this, or the ball gets farther and farther forward as we play, or farther and farther back. Everybody has their own tendencies, so this can change throughout the round. Setting up, taking our grip, getting our putter square, and then stepping into this putt, and then just practicing getting our feet to be at the right spots is gonna be pretty big.
All right, so we have a few ways now that we can work on our putting in this quarantine time. First off, we're just making sure that we have the correct putter for our style of stroke, right? Remember, if you have a lot of curvature, a lot of arc to your stroke, you're gonna need something that's heel shafted, and there's gonna be a little bit of toe hang. So when you hold the putter like this toe is gonna be hanging down some. So this is for my putter is like for a slight arc, which obviously when I took my putt, you can see that my stroke comes back in a little ways. As this toe hangs farther and farther down to where it's just dead straight flat, it's gonna be for strokes that have more and more arc to it. So awesome. If you are putting with the wrong style putter, you figure this out, you say, man, I have a lot of arc, or whatever. I say I have a lot of arc and I'm putting with a center shafted putter that's made for a more straight back, straight through stroke. You now have an excuse to go buy a new putter, which is awesome. So tell your wife that you have to go to the store once they're open and pick out something that works for your game, because it is detrimental to your enjoyment of golf. So this is your excuse. I'm gifting that to you. You can tell them that your online golf pro told you that you need to go get a new putter. If you have the correct style putter and you need a new one, just show them the video and or don't even show them the video because then they'll know, but tell them that you have the wrong style putter and that you need to go, and you can use some of my technical terms here to try to pull one over on them. Anyways, so one, matching your style of stroke to your style of putter. This is going to be big as far as your feel goes, and finding a putter that really fits your stroke. It's just going to feel a little more natural in your hands, a little more natural in your swing. It won't feel like you're fighting the putter so much. I guess the feel is going to be like, it's going to be a little easier to find your line, to set up and to aim and to distance control. All that's going to feel better if your putter matches your style of stroke. Okay, number 2, use the yardstick. So get a yardstick out, put some markings down on it. Doesn't necessarily have to be tape. You could use pen or whatever, and just put some markings down so that we can practice taking different length strokes. Short strokes for shorter putts, medium strokes for medium putts, long strokes for long putts. Don't get stuck in your comfort zone, just taking it back a set amount that we just feel comfortable with and then trying to power through the right amount, because in our head, it becomes this guessing game of, okay, how hard do I push it? How hard do I hit it to get it to the hole and not go too far past, right? Or whatever, don't leave it short. We don't want these kind of thoughts. We just want a set speed, set acceleration, and say, okay, how far back do I need to take it? And then we can just, that guess is gonna be a lot more consistent than if you're guessing on how hard to hit the ball. Third one is our quarter trick. If you can get a depth of stroke that is the width of a putter, the thickness of a putter, or the thickness of a quarter, you are coming super close to the ground. I mean, that is, oh, look at that is tiny. So if you can putt this quarter off of the ground without hitting the ground, I mean, we're coming that close. I mean, maybe a millimeter. I'm not even sure exactly how thick this is, but it's crazy close to the ground. You're gonna have the best chances of getting that putter underneath the ball, the center of gravity of the ball, and getting that ball to have a consistent roll to it. The better we can get this, the more consistent our speed is gonna be, the better our green reading gets, the better our feel gets, the better our scores get. So I hope these putting tips help. If you like these videos or my short game video, please give them a like on Instagram. I'm at That Golf Swing. Also, check out my YouTube channel. I have the same videos on there. Some different stuff that I don't post on Instagram, but check them out. Please give me a like. It helps me out a ton. And I hope to see you at the next practice.